Hello, my name is Nana Kojo, and I'm the country manager for Latitude Global Volunteering, which is a youth development charity in Ghana that recruits young people between 18 to 25 years go to local communities, organizations just to help them with finding solutions to local problems. And we believe that through volunteering, volunteers can become better citizens of the world. They can gain skills, they can be much engaged. They can go anywhere and do things that otherwise they wouldn't have been able to do if there are no volunteers. Because we believe that volunteerism gives you so much that you can actually not get from being in formal education or even in the world of employment. Because it gives you that leverage to expand your worldview, to just, be who you are and just do what you love to do and still gain so much from it. And so that's why, in the past few years, I've been involved in volunteering, especially with youth development, making sure that young people are getting so much from what they are doing. I used to be on this UK government funded program called International Citizen Service about 2 years ago, where we had young people from the UK. They come to Ghana, they work with young people from Ghana. They do so much amazing things, learn about cross cultural work and learn about building skills together, working in a team. But the main critical aspect of it was after they are gone, what next? We wanted them to become active citizens. We wanted them to understand why it's important to know, still be engaged in what you do, or still be engaged in what you're passionate about. And so, being an active citizen was a critical aspect of this whole program. And that's why I believe that this month's theme is also important to me because I believe that as organizations or as local leaders or as global leaders, we need to make sure we are cultivating that sense of active citizenship, that mindset, that global one, that wherever people find themselves or wherever young people find themselves, they can make an impact. And it's not just within their small communities. And in the next few minutes, I'd like to explore some of the few things that I think that, it's important and it's imperative for young people to understand or for volunteer managers to grasp if they're able to guide or if they will be able to guide young people throughout their journey and they can gain much from them so that they can become active citizens and global mind people who can just do amazing things wherever they find themselves. I like to talk on two key concepts that I've come to understand and appreciate called the grant economy and the exchange economy. So under volunteering, we have what we call those guys under the grant economy, where they do service, they do public good, they give out themselves, without expecting anything in return. They are much really concerned about the results or the impact that it's going to take. They don't expect a financial compensation, a material reward, or like a personal gain quickly. That's the grant economy. And then the exchange economy is when somebody gives a service and expects something in return right away. So you need to understand that kind of motivation that volunteers bring on board if you'll be able to guide them to understand what you want to achieve with them. Either they are coming with that grant economy where they want to give a service where they don't really expect much quickly in return, or the exchange economy where somebody tells swapping. If I'm giving you a service, then I need to get it right away. So once we're able to understand those key concepts, then we can be able to guide our volunteers effectively. Because at the end of the day, we want them to be active citizens. We want them to, come out and really strong than before. We want them to come out really passionate than before. And that leads me to what I call the personal development goals. Are we making sure that volunteers are setting goals before they come on placement or before they start volunteering? Young people just want to get with what things are working. Young people just want to go ahead, just want to, just tell me what I need to do. They don't want to follow through all these little things that will really give them so much after they are done with what they want to do. So normally we tend to easily forget or ignore some of these, critical things that we need to set up from the beginning. And that's why I think that personal development goals are really important. If we can be able to guide volunteers, these young people to set up goals and be conscious about it and to understand why they're even coming on the program or even deciding to volunteer, then they can do so much. Because if you can't really know what goals you set before you started and measure what things you've achieved, then what can you do in the future? Because you don't know what you can be able to do. But consciously, if you're able to balance those two, then you know that, well, I can go somewhere else and do the same thing, or I can go somewhere else and duplicate the same things. If that does not happen, then you're doing more harm than good. Because I believe personal development goals or are seeds in a sense that you grow from the beginning, that you tend and nourish daily and consistently to see them grow fully and beautifully. Because once they do, they know, okay, if I can do the same seed over there, I can get another beautiful flower, another beautiful tree. Architects say that the client shapes the structure, and after that, the structure shapes the client. So if you want young people to come out as active citizens with a global mindset, how are we shaping them from the beginning? Because if we don't shape them from the beginning in the right way, then they don't end up become active citizens the way we want them to be. You know, and that's why these goals are important, and that's why we need to understand their motivation, their expectations, what do they want to do. Just make sure that constantly are guiding them, supervising them, getting them aware of what's happening. Are we training them enough to make sure they understand the development context, even in the local communities or organizations? As global leaders who work with these young people or as managers, how we make sure they are being trained enough to understand even in a context. Because in some communities, development is all about relationships. In some communities, it's about infrastructure. In some communities, it's about education. Do we make sure that they understand it well and they can relate to their goals and their reasons and their expectations, their motivations to it? Because until somebody can relate all these things together, they're not quite motivated to do the things that we want them to do. And if they're not quite motivated to do that, then we can be rest assured that these guys are going to become active citizens and do so much more after what they've already done in this particular community. And now, the three key questions: the what, the why, and the how. The what. What are volunteers going to do? Most volunteers know that, well, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to help out in the community, tackle teenage pregnancy, tackle HIV and AIDS, all of that. How are they going to do it? Some do know, some don't know. But then you realize that, once they get into the community, they sit down with the local partners, they can realize how they are going to do it in a way. But a critical aspect for me is why. Why are they volunteering? Why do they want to do this? If a volunteer cannot answer why to relate to the local community or to relate to the situation at hand, then you realize that you can't really bring out so much from this volunteer. You need to guide and support the volunteer to answer the why really well. Because if their why is not so much, or if their why doesn't really make sense, then how can you make a global citizen out of this person? And it doesn't mean that you should throw this person away, but it also means that you need to guide the person, you need to support the person further. You need to bring that person to that point where the person understands that, well, in this community, this is how things work. And so if your why doesn't relate to it, then you get frustrated at the end. Our volunteers are rented enough so that after they've done a community service, is really handed over properly to local people. The local people feel ownership of the project. The local people are engaged. Or the volunteers just leave and they carry everything with them. And they carry all the project with them and nothing ever is seen in the community. We need to guide volunteers. We need to be with them. We need to consistently monitor them as volunteer managers, as global people. We need to make sure that volunteers are coming out, you know, in a rounded shape, fully than when they started. And if that's not being done, and if you are just even if you are just concerned about shooting up the numbers or shooting up the money or the cash, rather than being concerned about the development of this young person, then what are we doing? Being hypocrites because we are concerned about a community and local partner, but the person is doing the service in the community. We are not concerned about how they're going to develop and become an activist and even do more and more in different communities and areas that they find themselves. Then what are we doing? Lastly, I would like to look at what I call the labor situation. So a pregnant woman gets pregnant for say 9 months averagely, normally, to give birth. But throughout the 9 months, the pregnant woman needs to do so many things to make sure that he's giving birth rightly at the right time with a beautiful baby. The person needs to eat well, drink well, nourish the baby with the right foods and nutrients so that the baby can grow nicely in the womb. The person needs to abstain from certain habits, certain activities. The person needs to attend to antenatal care, make sure that he's training well, exercising well. All of these things, going through all those uncomfortable pain and situations, all of these things needs to happen. And after all these things have happened, you can be rest assured that in the higher percentage or in the higher chances, this person can give birth well at the right time, the beautiful baby. But what happens if these things are not done from the beginning and the person is living anyway? The person doesn't really care about the food or the water or anything that the person takes into the body. Then you can be rest assured that there could be complications or the person could even have a stillbirth. In the same way as volunteering from the beginning, if the person is not being given the right information, it's not being guided well, it's not being monitored well, it's not doing the right thing, eating well, getting the right information, being setting the personal development goals and following them through, going through all the uncomfortable pain of just being around in the community and just doing the things that they need to do and all because if you are guiding people, if you're supporting people, sometimes they don't really understand why they have to do that. But if you're looking at the bigger picture, then you're motivating them in the right sense for them to understand it. Because you want them to grow up to have a global mindset, to be active citizens, to be engaged well in wherever they find themselves. So, if volunteers are being guided through really well in this stage, in this uncomfortable stage, then you can rest assured that at the end of the whole time, they can come out well beautifully. And they can do the things that, we want them to do, being engaged in the world, having an open mind, having a bigger world view, having a greater sense of the world. And for us, as volunteers, organizations, and even for me individually, that's what's important. Because if that's absent, then there's no way we can, train young people and even cultivate in them that sense of global mindset or to even become active citizens. And that's what is important. Thank you very much. My name remains Nana Owusu. You can visit latitude.org.uk to learn more about volunteering. And you can even visit me on LinkedIn. Let's have a chat. Take care. Bye bye.